What a day of newsbreak after newsbreak on this story it's been. Now, Rahul Mukherjea, Sheena's boyfriend, was quizzed this morning in Mumbai as the Mumbai police pieces together the case. Driver, Indrani and Rahul, 3 people who could hold answers, have been questioned by the police commissioner of Mumbai himself. Rakesh Maria is questioning them himself. But, ladies and gentlemen, the focus has really been on Dispur, the capital of Assam, where Mikhail Bora, Sheena Bora's brother, has been helping the police get details of why his sister may have been killed by the television tycoon. But a birth certificate and a confession from Sheena's granddaughter has revealed the truth about a concerted effort to hide the truth. Now, just what, ladies and gentlemen, was Indrani trying to hide? All of these are today's developments. With me in the studio, before we play out that interview, Suhel Seth, Peter Mukherjea's friend, family friend, and Anil Dharker, tracking the story, knew them both. Suhel, what are you making of this? I saw the interview. Before we play out the interview, what do you think was the key point that came out in that chat?
I'm worried that Peter dismissed an anguished cry from a girl who said, look, I'm your wife's daughter and I'm not her sister. I mean, it alters the very edifice of a family equation. I'd be really worried. I'd dig deep, I'd check out, I'd call relatives, I'd call people, I'd ask Mikhail.
Yeah.
So what I'm worried about is, if Peter knew, why was there no effort at that time to dig deep?
He says, I had no reason to believe it.
No, he had. The reason erupted, the reason came on April 24, when his wife decided to come to Bombay on her own, whilst Peter and Vidhi were in Rome or wherever they were. At that time, if you're sending your wife out to actually alter the very equation of a family relationship, you'd come as well. Because your son was one of the parties, aggrieved as it may be.
But you went on holidaying in Rome.
Now, here's what could have happened.
Tough to believe.
You don't want you don't want a confrontation with your wife, and Indrani was aggressive, was pretty tough.
She was, you knew her.
Yeah, so you might turn around and say, look, I don't want to, I don't want this confrontation, so let it play out.
Right.
For 3 years, you don't ask.
Bizarre.
She shows you photographs, you believe them. No one from within the family addresses this issue. No Mikhail, no one. I mean, are we living in disconnected times? Are we primitive?
I tell you. I mean, in all of this, and what is very evident here, Anil, and I think Suhel makes the point quite with a great amount of clarity. When Sheena goes missing, that's the one time when an intelligent person like Peter Mukherjea, I mean, if you can run India's biggest television network and then go on to launch the NewsX channel, then you must be a person with some fair amount of intelligence, at least in the corporate world. He never puts the 2 and 2 together. My wife had deep animosity with someone who told me that she was not the daughter, she was not the sister, but the daughter. She came to me and said, Peter Mukherjea, I can't live with this lie. And I'm telling you something, and your own son is telling you the same thing. You know that that happens. You know that after the meeting between Sheena and Indrani, that's the point when she goes missing. There is no other event. The one event which leads to Sheena going missing, the last point of contact is Sheena's point of contact with Indrani. Then she just goes kaput into thin air. And yet for 3 years, till day before yesterday, he told me today, I never thought about it. I was just completely zapped.
No, if you, and I think this is what I observed, I think what Suhel or anyone who knew Peter and Indrani would have observed, that Peter was a man truly and madly in love with Indrani.
Absolutely.
And I met them socially. He never left her side, never left her side. And he was, I think, till a few days ago, completely bedazzled by her. She had some kind of mesmerizing effect on him. And he wanted to believe certain things because it made life easier with her.
Yeah.
And I can't see why any husband would believe the worst of his wife, that she would actually kill.
You never asked, where did she go?
No.
What happened? By the way, you told me that you...
Because she's giving you plausible stories. She's saying she's gone to the US. She's showing you photographs, which are manufactured. Right, she's even using her phone for a whole year.
Well, I mean, this is incredible. Now, a lot of people calling now.
There are 2 issues here. No, there are 2 issues here. Your son tells you this girl is not Indrani's sister, but the daughter. No. Sheena tells you that, look, I'm her daughter. two young people who have no reason to lie, come to you, they treat you as a party that would deliver justice.
But you know what? I asked this question too. And by the way, a lot of people calling in right now, why don't you just play the interview? So we're going to play that interview. But I asked Peter, your own son told you, your sister-in-law, quote unquote, came and told you, I'm not the sister-in-law. I'm actually your wife's daughter. Why didn't you believe them? So he says that Indrani told me that these people are trying to break up our marriage. Because he's the son by the first marriage. And he
resents the fact
he resents the fact that Peter Mukherjea had a second marriage to Indrani, and therefore there is a motive for Rahul to lie. So
there are two people. There's Rahul and there's Sheena.
No, if you go by Peter Mukherjea's version, he doesn't believe anybody in this whole planet except Indrani Mukherjea, and that's what he told me. At least now. Should we play the interview? Before that, I want to introduce, there's Rina Dhaka, fashion designer, well-known fashion designer, joining us today. We're talking about this tonight. Nina Pillai will be joining us tonight. I think they're already there with us. There they are. Yes, they are. Wing Commander DeejayKler, who's a friend of Sanjeev Khanna, joining us live from Kolkata. Thank you very much. Suhel and Anil with me in the studio. And Vikram Singh, former top cop, he's been DGP of Uttar Pradesh, looking at the crime angle. To all of you, I'm going to come to you in a bit, but I hope you can hear me loud and clear. We're first going to play out substantial part of that conversation I had with Peter Mukherjea. And you can judge this for yourself after that. Here goes. Did you know that Sheena was Indrani's daughter?
Certainly not. I had no idea that Sheena was Indrani's daughter. In fact, I was told before we got married that Indrani had a brother and sister. Sheena was the sister and Mikhail was the brother. Sheena at some later point had pointed out that that was incorrect information, but
what do you mean by that? Sheena had pointed out?
Sheena had told me that, Jiju, and she used to call me Jiju in fact, and she said, Jiju, this is not correct. Indrani has given you, wrong information, and you please believe me, and told me that in so many words.
Believe me in
that
what?
I'm not her sister, but I'm actually her mother. I'm actually her daughter.
She told you that?
She told me that, and of course I could not take that at face value because, all these years I believed that she was Indrani's sister, and Indrani had told me that. I then confronted Indrani about it, and Indrani said that is utter rubbish, and this has been, fed to Sheena from somewhere else, and it is completely untrue, and not to believe that at all.
When did Sheena tell you this, and why didn't you believe her?
Well, as I said, Arnab, I think...
When was this? Do you remember when?
Look, I seem to vaguely remember, obviously not clear on the dates, but around the time of, or just before my niece got married in 2011, I was in Bombay at the time, and I met with Sheena and Rahul, and at that time Sheena had said to me that she may be attending the wedding and so on, and she said to me that, look, the information that Indrani has given you is all wrong, and I am actually her daughter, and Indrani has told me not to share this with anyone, but I'm sharing it with you because I like you, and Rahul is my boyfriend, and I cannot stay in a state of live with this lie. I found it clearly very, very difficult to sort of digest that, because all those years I've been told that she's Indrani, my wife's sister, and she's been home from time to time. She's visited when she was at college, and there was absolutely no reason whatsoever for me to believe that she was anything other than Indrani's sister, my wife's sister. So if somebody walks into your house one day and somebody that you've known for a while and suddenly gives you some information and tells you that, listen, I'm actually not so-and-so's son, I'm so-and-so's brother, you might choose to discount it. You might wonder about it later on, but you might not necessarily believe it in its entirety, which is what the case was with me.
Peter, thanks for talking to me. What do you know about the circumstances that could have led to this murder, the motive?
Look, I'm completely in a state of dismay and shock at having heard these charges, and I have absolutely no idea that this was something that was, that had taken place. And even till today, I believe that, a person is innocent until proven guilty. And I think that's the, let the law take its own course, let the police do their investigation fully and completely and transparently, and then we will, truth will prevail.
Did you know that Sheena was Indrani's daughter?
Certainly not. I had no idea that Sheena was Indrani's daughter. In fact, I was told before we got married that Indrani had a brother and sister. Sheena was the sister and Mikhail was the brother. Sheena at some later point had pointed out that that was incorrect information, but
what do you mean by that? Sheena had pointed out?
Sheena had told me that, Jiju, and she used to call me Jiju in fact, and she said, Jiju, this is not correct. Indrani has given you, wrong information, and you please believe me, and told me that in so many words.
Believe me in
that
what?
I'm not her sister, but I'm actually her mother. I'm actually her daughter.
She told you that?
She told me that, and of course I could not take that at face value because, all these years I believed that she was Indrani's sister, and Indrani had told me that. I then confronted Indrani about it, and Indrani said that is utter rubbish, and this has been, fed to Sheena from somewhere else, and it is completely untrue, and not to believe that at all.
Did your son Rahul, who was going around with Sheena, tell you that Indrani was the mother and not the...
Rahul echoed exactly what Sheena had said. Obviously, they had conferred with each other. They knew each other's, thoughts, and they had discussed this clearly between themselves. And so when Rahul told me the same thing, I had, responded to him in exactly the same way, that is absolutely untrue, and that I have spoken to Indrani, and Indrani has told me, in a completely honest sort of way, and she's my wife, and I believe my wife. There wasn't any question of me not believing my wife, a woman who I'd married and I'd lived with for, over 10 years at that point. And so why would I have any reason to believe? Because my son it could not be just because my son said so. I needed to have certain very clear evidences for that to be consideration.
No, but when did Sheena tell you this? And why didn't you believe her?
Well, as I said, Arnab, I think...
When was this? Do you remember when?
Look, I seem to vaguely remember, obviously not clear on the dates, but around the time of just before my niece got married in 2011, I was in Bombay at the time, and I met with Sheena and Rahul, and at that time Sheena had said to me that she may be attending the wedding and so on, and she said to me that, look, the information that Indrani has given you is all wrong, and I am actually her daughter, and Indrani has told me not to share this with anyone, but I'm sharing it with you because I like you, and Rahul is my boyfriend, and I cannot stay in a state of live with this lie. I found it clearly very, very difficult to sort of digest that, because all those years I've been told that, she's Indrani, my wife's sister, and she's been home from time to time. She's visited when she was at college, and there was absolutely no reason whatsoever for me to believe that she was anything other than Indrani's sister, my wife's sister. So if somebody walks into your house one day and somebody that you've known for a while and suddenly gives you some information and tells you that, listen, I'm actually not so-and-so's son, I'm so-and-so's brother, you might choose to discount it. You might wonder about it later on, but you might not necessarily believe it in its entirety, which is what the case was with me. I think the second part of your question was, why did I not believe it?
Why didn't you believe your own son?
Well,
was there trouble between Indrani and Sheena? What was the point of disagreement? Mr. Mukherjea, I'd like you to elaborate on it. There have been reports that Indrani and Sheena were having a strained relationship. There are reports of some threats doing the rounds. What was the cause of the conflict?
To be honest, I wasn't aware of any threats. I had no knowledge of that. Between Indrani and Sheena, there were disagreements from time to time, like any siblings have. There were sometimes disagreements, but you know, those disagreements and conversations between the two sisters.
About what?
I don't really know.
Is it true that Indrani had problems with Sheena's relationship with Rahul?
Look, of course, Indrani had a problem with Sheena's relationship with Rahul because it was something that, you know, she was didn't approve of. Rahul wasn't working at the time. She felt that Sheena can do a lot better than and settle down and lead a more stable life with somebody who had a proper career, etc. And I've shared this information with Rahul numerous times. But the fact is, the issue at hand for me is more than whether she was sister or daughter or mother or cousin or aunt or whatever. The issue at hand for me is really the fact that Indrani, my wife, is currently being charged with a murder charge and kidnapping and that of disposing of evidence.
I understand that, but here's what people will say. They'll say, Rahul, your son, your own son told you. Sheena herself told you. And they were saying that Sheena is Indrani's daughter, and you chose to not believe either of them.
In any case,
why?
Let me tell you, Arnab, I don't know, you know, in your situation, how you would react to that kind of a allegation or a change of relationship. But in my relationship with my wife, I believe my wife 9.9 times out of 10. I would go as far as saying 10 times out of 10, unless I am proven, or it is proven that she is wrong. She is my wife after all. I have chosen to spend the rest of my life with her. She has chosen to spend the rest of her life with me. So there is no question that when somebody comes and gives me a particular, including my son, who for all sorts of reasons perhaps may not have been happy about my second marriage, etc.
You're watching the First News Hour debate on Times Now Super Prime Time.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to play more parts of this interview part by part, which is an interesting conversation. But to the point to which it's built up, Nina, do you believe Peter Mukherjea there? That he knew about, he was told, but he just was this loving husband, deeply in love, not just affectionate, but believing of his wife. And that's why he was fooled. You go with that.
Arnab, to be very honest, yesterday in his interview,
okay, so that
Peter said...
Rina, sorry, that was to Nina. I'm coming to you after that. Yeah, Nina.
I think no, sorry, it's muffling the voice. That's why.
No problem. Yes, Nina, go ahead.
Okay. So yesterday Peter said that they talked in Assamese in their language, and he never heard any friction, or there was no acrimony between the so-called siblings, now mother and daughter. And today he says they had the normal problems of siblings, which is to have acrimony and have little fights and whatever. There's no talk of the language being different. He understood everything. I feel it's in the evolving story of Peter's change of interview, sound bites and things, that the truth lies between all of this. His own mother-in-law from his previous marriage says he knew. And why would an 80-year-old lie? I don't think 20-year-olds quite know how to lie. They may try to lie. And I have a 20-year-old, but you catch them out, you know, it's fast. An 80-year-old woman saying that Peter knew. And then he goes around saying that, you know, despite being this big honcho of enormous media companies that generated great income and made him a healthy profit on sale, he just loved and didn't look beyond that.
Yeah,
you know?
He was in love.
And he was in love. And love for 15 years. You know, you and I, we've been married, and you know, after 15 years, you accept your wife. I accepted my husband, but you know where their flaws are. You know where they could be. You know everything about them, and so you're not the gullible fool you were when you fell in love and got married. And when your own son and your own sister-in-law, stepdaughter, whatever the equation is, comes and tells you, no, it's something different, someone as intelligent as Peter never questions it.
Yeah.
It stretches
the part about this this hatchet job. Now, what also doesn't add up here, and this goes to you, Rina Dhaka. We can all, by the way, we're not taking turns here. Feel free to come into the conversation like a normal news hour chat. My question to you, Rina, is that in the middle of all this, he says, I knew that Indrani exactly around the time when this murder happened. So he keeps saying it's not proven, it's a murder. She flies down from Bristol in the UK, right? And this fellow Mikhail flies down from Guwahati to Mumbai. They fix up a meeting. They have apparently a dinner meeting pre-scheduled with Sheena, after which they've already decided that we are going to take her to Guwahati. There is no question of her will or whether she wants to. And I asked him, why would you go with such a medieval plan? You are Peter Mukherjea, you're an educated person. Why would you believe this does not happen even the most, in the most C-grade Hindi movies, that a relative flies down from one part of the country, another relative flies down, then there is a relationship, they don't approve of, they pick up the girl, take her to Guwahati, and have already decided they're going to fly her down to the US. And then she just disappears. I could not understand there why Peter Mukherjea went along with that. Can love be an explanation, Rina?
Silence.
Rina, you think love can be an explanation for that as well?
No chance.
Rina Dhaka, Rina Dhaka, Rina Dhaka.
Be involved in her mess.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I thought maybe he didn't want to be involved with her baggage, and he didn't care. He wanted the best out of the relationship, and probably day to day, maybe he was just avoiding dealing with all this. I do feel he is responsible to an extent by being with her, that she had a relationship with a daughter and he was aware of her being her daughter. Maybe he could have helped stop her from doing such a demonic act.
Well, I mean, it doesn't add up here. Vikram Singh, please feel free to come in. By the way,
I would like to react.
Yeah, go ahead, Vikram Singh. Yeah, go ahead.
Arnab, I would like to tell you that Peter Mukherjea is no babe in the woods. He knows what he's talking about. But he poses to be delirious, and your interview has exposed him. All what he said is evasive, incoherent, and unconvincing. There are so many chinks in the armor. He chooses to see what he wants to see, and he chooses to come out with his own homespun explanation and getting deeper and deeper entangled. I think he is just the right material to be subjected to a narco-analysis and a polygraph test, and that will expose everything.
Why did he
agree to an interview?
Pardon me?
Why did he agree to an interview?
Why did he agree to be interviewed by you?
Yeah.
And why did he agree only on an audio interview and not a video interview? Why was there no camera?
Well, I'd like to say that yesterday on the news hour I said that we are trying to get in touch with Peter Mukherjea and he's not picking up the phone. And he told me there wasn't some meeting. Today, when I said that I am in Mumbai, I want to meet you, and I've been telling him quite explicitly, I can show you the SMS, I said I want the first interview with you. And so I told him I will come, and I was accompanied by a member of our news analysis team, and we were taking written notes through the conversation. We had a 1-hour conversation. At the end of it, we convinced him that he needs to speak. For some reason, he said, okay, I will do an interview, but we'll do an interview on the phone. I said, we're not doing an interview on the phone. I'm sitting here, you're sitting here. We must do an interview right here, right now. So he finally agreed to an audio interview, recorded on the phone, but he refused to be photographed.
Why?
Now that's, I don't know. So,
may I hazard a guess?
Yeah, please go ahead.
May I hazard a guess?
No, admissible as evidence.
No, what's ask
the facial
DGP,
expressions,
yeah.
The facial expressions, the pauses, and the quirks are indicative, and the body language are indicative of your mindset, and perhaps if there is any guilt. I don't say there is, but if there is any guilt, it is indicative of a larger mindset and the shape of things that might come out during the course of an interview. Therefore, the street smart person that you are, you would take pains to ensure that you will give only a telephonic interview and not come in front of the camera.
Well,
I can't
Anil Dharker, by the way.
I can't figure out why Peter Mukherjea is talking to news channels or the media at all. If I were in his place, I would just shut up. Because,
why
because
would you?
every time you
I would
open your
arrange
mouth,
for lawyers
you
for
are
my wife if I thought
you're
she was
incriminating
innocent.
yourself. So
That is one escape route.
I just can't
That is one
understand
escape
that.
route.
I want to ask the gentleman from the police, is audio admissible as evidence in a court of law, sir?
It is indeed, depending upon what kind of audio it is.
What?
There are various acts, in some acts it is. But when you talk like that to the press, this kind of evidence is certainly admissible because it is natural, it can be construed, it can be forensically tested also, whether it's your voice or a doctored voice or something that has been doctored in a manner to suit somebody else.
Okay, now with us also is Wing Commander DeejayKler, is a friend of Sanjeev Khanna. Sanjeev Khanna is Indrani's second husband. You know what Peter Mukherjea told me, by the way, and this is before the, he says that I didn't know whether I knew I was the second husband. Now I am told that I'm the third husband, and who knows, tomorrow I may be the fourth husband or the fifth husband. So he made every attempt in the course of the interview to appear to be this extremely gullible,
naive
man in love. But he did not explain to me why a progressive person like him, I presume he's progressive, agrees to an evacuation plan carried out by his extremely vindictive wife against somebody who comes to him. And I'll play out that part where he says, and this part of the interview is going to play up next, where he says Indrani did not approve of the relationship. He also said, I did not approve of the relationship. And he says Indrani did not approve of the relationship because she felt that my son was not doing well enough. That you needed a more stable, he's a more stable partner. That you needed somebody with a better career. And he says, my son was a struggling actor. He came back, did his degree abroad, came back, got into the Anupam, some school of acting here, wasn't really making a career. And so there was tension. In fact, he also told me, and I'm sharing this, he says, for 3 years, I did not speak to my son. Now, 3 years have passed since
Sheena died.
Sheena was butchered.
That's exactly the
he
time
says,
of
I
the
did
murder,
not know.
Arnab.
Nina, I'm sharing this. I'm sharing more information, in fact. He says, he told me, and he tried his best to contact us and said, where is my girlfriend disappeared? Where is Sheena disappeared? And this led to a fight within the family. And he said there was a nasty conversation, and he put the phone down, and he said there was strong disagreement between me and Rahul, and the subject of this was the relationship between Rahul and Sheena. And he says that it was, well, he said it's too close for comfort, you know, my son and Indrani's daughter. At least that's the way. I didn't approve of it either. She didn't approve either, thinking that he's not doing well enough. So there was huge tension about it.
He's his oldest son.
Yeah.
Would you stop talking to your son for 3 years because you approve of his dating standards?
I mean, it appears strange that a sort of well-educated, quote-unquote progressive family should present this you know, it just doesn't add up.
Lame excuse.
Yeah, it's something doesn't add up. Why was a fully grown-up, independent, educated, working professional like Sheena going to agree to be evacuated in the manner that Indrani was planning? And knowing this, why did Mr. Peter Mukherjea just go on a holiday to Rome with his stepdaughter? I mean, and never after that, when Sheena disappeared, ask once a question, where on earth is she? You ask him, why didn't you ask the question? He says, I didn't want to upset my wife.
But there's so many other questions. Why didn't Mikhail do anything about finding his sister?
Okay, Shazia Ilmi joining us.
I think Mikhail...
Now, Shazia Ilmi...
Anna, why did Mikhail...
His own sister's gone missing.
The evidence
nothing about
that he now is giving to the police.
He wakes up now.
Which, no, he says he has evidence which incriminates Indrani, Peter, and his sister.
Yeah.
You know, the brother says that, and he had that for 3 years.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend Rahul had her passport. If you have someone's travel documents, you know they couldn't have traveled very far. It's just logical, and these are not stupid people. And for 3 years, there was a conspiracy of silence between all of them for whatever reason, monetary, blackmail, whitemail, you know, whatever it was. But there was a conspiracy of silence, and suddenly when the story broke, the family is incriminating themselves.
Okay, now what we are going to do, what we are going to do right now, what we are going to do right now, Nina, with your permission, Shazia Ilmi is a former colleague Now, we know her as Aam Aadmi Party earlier and now BJP. Yes. Before all of that, Shazia has been a television news anchor. She was with Star News. And in that capacity, she has been a former colleague of Peter Mukherjea when Star News had been launched from Mumbai. You were also associated with Star News at that time, Suhel. Now, before I come to you, Shazia, I first want to ask Wing Commander DeejayKler, who's a friend of Sanjeev Khanna. Wing Commander Clare, Sanjeev Khanna who is the second husband of Indrani is now believed was very much part of the murder plot, and in fact was in the car when the murder happened. He is now in custody. Do you believe he has a role in the murder? Do you believe he is the murderer, or do you think Indrani used him?
I am totally convinced, and I'm absolutely sure that Sanjeev Khanna is not capable of murder. Sanjeev Khanna is not capable of harming anybody. Sanjeev Khanna is a man who is only a do-gooder and a helper of anyone or everyone. He's a very fine man from Mayo College, from where I also passed out a decade before him. And he was a friend of my son, who's also from Mayo College.
Then why is Indrani Mukherjea named him?
Alumni.
Why has Indrani Mukherjea named him?
Indrani Mukherjea, I am thinking of an angle of either blackmail, because he was very fond of the daughter which they produced together. And we have seen that process. We've seen the two people married lovey-dovey. We've seen her becoming a mother. We've heard about the child being born. And I thought there was a very nice, compatible family. And he was very, very upset because it was a murky divorce where she took custody of the child. I am looking at it from a blackmail angle now that I'm hearing what I'm hearing. But the fact that he says that he was in the car...
Who's blackmailing whom?
Sorry. Which has come as a bit of a rude shock to me. I think Indrani is blackmailing Sanjeev Khanna.
For what?
And I'm told that he was there in the car and he doesn't know what happened. I can only attribute that to one thing, that Sanju is fond of his drink, and was his drink spiked? The second thing that is bothering me is to take on a grown-up woman, to strangulate her, you need more, not just a woman, you need one or two more people. If Sanjeev Khanna was passed out, then how could the driver and her just manage to
getting more bizarre.
Strangulate her?
This is just getting more bizarre. Shazia, do you believe Peter has told me the complete truth? I'm going to play some more clips of that.
Yes.
Do you think he's told me the complete truth? What do you think?
You know what I find, it's not for me to speculate, but what I find most baffling is that the Peter I knew, who was a CEO, extremely bright, affable, absolutely thoroughly a decent person and a gentleman, how could he be so idiotic? How could he be so gullible? And if his gullibility is bordering on a point of foolishness and criminal foolishness, as it now appears, is very baffling. So I don't get it. You're living with somebody and you have no idea about the antecedents of her biological children, whether they are children or a sister or brother, siblings. So I'm absolutely baffled. I know there is darkness that lurks in, in human soul, but the degree to which this lady, Indrani, manipulated everybody. They were like puppets on the string. Not just so much a husband who believed her entirely, thought no end of her, swore by her piety, so to speak, but also her ex-husband who would help abduct a child from another marriage, a grown-up woman, pretend to be asleep in the car while the strangulation happened. Exactly. So I mean, it's not a functioning family. It's not only dysfunctional. It's a scary, horrific Adams family, and it's so perverse. It is so, I mean, it's so depraved. And I'm shocked by Peter Mukherjea, because I knew him as a very bright, sensible fellow. How could he be so blinkered? His love is blind, but his love stupid?
Okay.
Totally demented.
But you give it to the woman
Now, this is the part of the interview. This is that part of the interview where, this whole question comes up about Indrani, how much was known or not known. Let's play this particular clip. It's an important clip, then I'm coming back.
Okay.
Why didn't you believe your own son?
Was there trouble between Indrani and Sheena? What was the point of disagreement? Mr. Mukerjea, I'd like you to elaborate on it. There have been reports that Indrani and Sheena were having a strained relationship. There are reports of some threats doing the rounds. What was the cause of the conflict?
To be honest, I wasn't aware of any threats. I had no knowledge of that. Between Indrani and Sheena, there were disagreements from time to time, like any siblings have. There were sometimes disagreements, but you know, those disagreements and conversations between the two sisters.
About what?
I don't really know.
Is it true that Indrani had problems with Sheena's relationship with Rahul?
Look, of course, Indrani had a problem with Sheena's relationship with Rahul because it was something that, you know, she was didn't approve of. Rahul wasn't working at the time. She felt that Sheena can do a lot better than and settle down and lead a more stable life with somebody who had a proper career, etc. And I've shared this information with Rahul numerous times. But the fact is, the issue at hand for me is more than whether she was sister or daughter or mother or cousin or aunt or whatever. The issue at hand for me is really the fact that Indrani, my wife, is currently being charged with a murder charge.
Okay, so Indrani had problems. So more comes up here, Suhel. It's quite clear that Indrani had problems with the relationship. There was attempts to force her out. Peter Mukherjea knows all this. Peter Mukherjea knows a lot more than what people felt he knew. Yesterday, the whole thing was Peter Mukherjea was in a state of shock. Now, Peter Mukherjea knows a lot about the build-up to what happened, and yet basically says today, I was in love.
I mean, look,
come on, yeah.
You can be in love.
Yeah.
That's separate. There are three people who are closely involved with you in your life who are reaching out to you. Your wife, this girl Sheena, and your own son. You take no cognizance. You don't want to investigate. You don't want to dig deep. You live in denial. You live in such deep denial that you believe your wife. You don't even want to investigate bits of her past. You're living with her for 15 years. You don't attend a single family function. You don't want to know how Sheena's being taken care of in America, who's funding her stay in America. So these are serious issues. And these, to my mind, need
But maybe he's dealing with an extremely diabolical person. Can I show you this birth certificate that we have got? It's very interesting. In 2002, which is around the time that Peter Mukherjea and Indrani either get married or start going around. It's that time when their relationship fructifies. In a very well-planned way.
Arnab.
In a very well-planned way, in a very well-planned way, Sheena Bora is given a certificate of birth. She's born in 1988. In the year when Indrani and Peter get together, Sheena Bora is given a certificate of birth which is from the government of Assam, signed in Guwahati in 2002. According to this, her grandparents' names are listed as the parent, father and mother. How is this timed at exactly the same time when Indrani marries or gets ready to marry Peter Mukherjea? What Indrani is doing very systematically is this.
You want to recalibrate your past.
No. She's recalibrating her past. She's building a story. She fabricates documents, denies any link with her own children, calls her children step-brother and step-sister, and prepares for a new life with Peter Mukherjea.
This is one evil genius, Arnab.
Arnab, there's even...
in that case, you know, she is probably not just an evil genius, she is a crazy genius, but a maverick murderer out here who has planned this whole thing out for the last 10 to 12 years. And when she felt that the whole cover was blown, went to the extent of carrying out the murder. But was there something else which led to it? My question to you, Anil, is if you look at the manner in which she rushes from UK, comes down to Bombay, plans to meet Sheena, and then carries out the murder, there must have been some trigger. It cannot just be the differences between both sides. There has to be some other trigger. There has to be something they wanted to hide. That's the point.
You know, I've never believed this story that the so-called love affair between Sheena and Rahul was enough for Indrani to murder.
Correct.
It just does not wash, because what is so bad about it?
They were liberal.
Right? Why would she kill her own daughter just because of this love affair.
It has to be something.
It has to be something else. It has to be something else.
Is it possible?
That could be money.
But her own brother.
Be money. That's what I can think of.
What is it? What is that one thing which was the trigger? Was it money? Was it some other aspect which has not come out so far, Suhel?
It can only be one of two things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nina, just don't interrupt for a minute.
One second,
darling, please, thanks. It could only be one of two things. Number one, money. Number two, that there would be a complete alteration in her life from a social standpoint.
In what way?
So that people might say, oh, she is the daughter. That just alters the equation between Peter, her, because Peter was living on a bed of lies created by Indrani.
Yeah.
The second is it could be something even worse. It could be a personal relationship that Indrani got to know, which actually hurt Indrani more than anyone else. And Indrani was therefore in a Nina, 1 minute here. And Indrani was in a vengeful mood. So these are the hypotheses. But now, you know, we're all trying to play Sherlock Holmes.
No, it's not Sherlock Holmes. I'm going to play one more clip here. So what we are coming to are 2 or 3 very, very interesting points, and I'd like to go back to the super cop, Vikram Singh, once again, because Vikram Singh, let's add up a few things here. The birth certificate proves that when Indrani is marrying Peter Mukherjea, she wants to eliminate her past, in fact, eliminate any biological link with her own children, who she calls her stepdaughter and stepsister. And here is what, by the way, Peter Mukherjea spoke to me, and I asked him, what did you know about the family in Guwahati? He said, this is what Indrani told me. This also never come before, it's not on record, but I'd like to share this part of the conversation which is off record. I will play out the part of the interview in some time. I'm sharing something right now with the viewers. Now, I asked him, what did you know about the family in Guwahati? He says, and I've never actually shared this before, he says, Indrani told me that there is A and B. These are exactly Peter Mukherjea's words. She is the child of A and B, right? And then her mother remarries, or then she has a stepfather. And relationship with the stepfather is strained because of some reasons. Because of which she leaves.
At 16?
Huh?
She left her house at 16?
At 16, 17, whatever, at a fairly early age. Because of that stress that she had when the stepfather came in, she leaves. And then these 2 children who are there, Mikhail and Sheena, are the children of her mother with her stepfather. This is what she told Peter Mukherjea. Now, this is what he revealed to me. One second, let me complete. So she comes and I said, so did you ever go and meet B and C? Or did you meet her stepfather, or did you meet the stepmother? So Peter said, no, I never did. He said, in fact, we had a conversation before we got married, and this is what she told me about a family in Guwahati. I said, have you ever been to Guwahati, Peter Mukherjea? He said, I've never been to Guwahati. I've never met my wife's family. I don't know who they are. I just went with what my wife told me. Now, that's in 10, 15 years of marriage, you don't know who your wife's family is.
That's my point.
And by the way, Indrani Mukherjea then produces a birth certificate to change the narrative of her own life. Now, was Sheena going to reveal everything? Because Sheena was in Mumbai. There was a strained relationship between them. They were in the UK. The person who could have been affected the most if Sheena went public with all of this, and suppose she gave an interview, or she revealed it, or she went public, or because then the person who would be affected the most would be Vikram Singh, Indrani, Mukherjea.
She would be the loser.
So she comes in a desperate frame of mind and does something in that frame of mind. Vikram Singh, now put it all together, everything I've shared. What do you think happened?
A distinct possibility, but it's very poignant to presume that Peter Mukherjea swallowed hook, line and sinker all the yarns given by Indrani. And the birth certificate, presumably giving the pedigree that the father was Upendra Bora and the mother was Durga Bora. And not to question the pedigree of the in-laws is equally unconvincing, whereas the mother-in-law is on record to show that she is aware that Peter Mukherjea was fully in the know of the in-laws' position and all the members of their in-laws. Number 2, you choose to go on a vacation exactly on the time when these gory incidents take place. Number 3, there is an email sent to the employees of Sheena at a time when she applies for leave, supposedly just to cover up their steps. Now, every person in the dramatis personae has very insidiously covered their steps and have obliterated the evidence to cover up their criminality. Therefore, there are several dimensions which needs to be answered very, very carefully.
I also want to just add one thing here, sir. Sorry to interrupt, but want to bring to the viewers here, when I'm looking at this case, the two people who are very upset with Indrani are her two children whose identities she denies, whose status as her children she denies.
To the world.
To the world. And these two people who are very angry with her, one is Mikhail, because Mikhail is not getting the money that he used to regularly get from her. He knows that his mother, his biological mother, who treats him like a stepbrother and gives him, you know, and he has never been around for them, has stopped sending money. He knows that she's very rich. She's married to a fairly wealthy and successful man, and he is not living in materially good circumstances. That is a source of tension between Indrani and her son, Mikhail. The other person who is angry with the mother is the daughter, which is Sheena. So if you think about the meeting that Indrani wanted to do in Mumbai, the meeting she wanted to do was with her two children in the absence of Peter. Correct. Peter is sitting in UK. Indrani comes down and wants to have a meeting with her two children. Right? This much she shares with Peter, but she says that I am going there because I want to get her out and take her to Guwahati. Maybe she comes, I don't know what the conversation is, presuming she tries to settle the matter with the two children.
Again, around money.
Whatever it is around. Now, Mikhail, remember in all of this. Now, Mikhail, remember in all of this, has a problem and has gone public and said, Mikhail has gone public and said, I have some emails and some videos with Peter and Indrani. I asked at 10 minutes past 5 today, I asked Peter Mukherjea that is there any video or emails between you and Mikhail? He says if Mikhail has any such emails, he's welcome to go public with it. So she tries to settle the matter with the children. Yeah, Mikhail goes back, and Mikhail, I feel, is sitting on something. There he is. His pictures are on air. This young man, who is Indrani's son in Guwahati, has some information. I have a strong feeling he has some information which he either threatened to reveal or which is still not revealed. This is Mikhail. And as far as Sheena is concerned, maybe she threatened to go public. And that was the point when Indrani eliminated her. I'm just putting two and two together. Now, I'd like to play a part of the conversation. This is the part of the conversation
why did she not then want to eliminate Mikhail as well?
Well, I don't know.
You know, because he would be as much a threat. He would be as much a threat as Sheena.
Yeah, he would be.
Why did the driver have a gun? That's the next question. Okay,
so there are many questions. Now, by the way, we are coming to a very, very, very important part of the conversation where Peter Mukherjea reveals details of the conversation he had with Rahul about Sheena's real identity. This is the really critical part, but it's an 8-minute clip. Now, was Peter Mukherjea so blindsided by love that he didn't protest Sheena's evacuation? Was he so blindsided by love to think that Sheena would perfectly be comfortable with an arrangement that would evacuate her from Mumbai? How could Peter Mukherjea think, or anyone think, that Sheena would be perfectly comfortable with the idea of, quote-unquote, in Peter's own words, being housed in her family home? So if Peter was never in the kind of an arrangement that he was in regular contact with Sheena, why would Sheena confide in him about her identity in the first place? Sheena, ladies and gentlemen, was sharing her deepest, darkest, and if I may use the word, saddest secret with Peter Mukherjea. It was the saddest secret of her life, and I'd like to share one more thing today. And that is that I spoke to some people who have been college friends of Sheena. And they said that in an informal moment, when they were letting their hair down and when they were talking very freely, then she had said that I am my Indrani's daughter. I'm not a sister. But then she quickly corrected herself the next morning and denied it. Now, the saddest secret of her life was being shared with Peter Mukherjea. And she says, I like you, and that's why I am telling you this. And yet Peter Mukherjea said, no, I just can't believe you. That's it. Interesting. Now, here's a part of the conversation where Peter Mukherjea reveals details of the conversation he had with his son Rahul about Sheena's real identity. In this portion of the interview, watch carefully, Peter Mukherjea reveals details of where he was during the murder. He also tells me about an alleged breakup email sent to Indrani by her daughter Sheena Bora. Watch this carefully. Every word is important.
That's, you know, possibly a reason why...
You felt that's why you felt...
No, I didn't feel...
No, allow me to... Did you feel that Rahul was telling you that Sheena was Indrani's daughter, and Sheena was telling you that Sheena was Indrani's daughter because they resented your second marriage with Indrani? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that was what Indrani had also responded to me by saying, is that, look, you know, you are choosing to believe, if you do believe, you're choosing to believe your son, who in any case were unhappy about the fact that you have got remarried, and the best thing that he would feel would be that, you know, if the marriage was to break up, and that would make him happy, that would make his mother happy, and, you know, it would certainly be an objective. It's not beyond comprehension that, you know, an offspring will find a second marriage of a parent, you know, disagreeable.
Where were you on those days when this murder happened? Where were you?
Well,
and where was Indrani? Tell us about it.
Let me firstly respond by saying it's a murder charge, and that Indrani, from what I remember of the dates, was in Bombay at the time, and my daughter Vidhi and myself, we were out of the country in England. We were in Rome for that entire week, and we were not in Bombay at all.
So it was planned that she would come to Mumbai? You knew she was in Mumbai?
Yeah, I knew she was coming to Mumbai.
Why was she coming to Mumbai? What did she tell you?
Look, I knew she was coming to Mumbai. I knew she was coming to Mumbai to meet with her brother, Mikhail, and that the two of them had worked out, along with blessings from parents, that they would make sure that Sheena was moved to Guwahati, and then from Guwahati, then, you know, the plan was that she was going to go and study overseas in the US.
How can an adult, educated adult doing a job be moved against their own will?
Look, I don't know. To be honest with you, I didn't get into the detail of that. I assumed that there was some level of collusion between Sheena and Indrani, and that Sheena was unhappy in her relationship with Rahul at that point. In fact, if my memory is correct, there was an email that was shown to me by Indrani on a laptop screen that, you know, Sheena is, you know, looking to get out of that relationship, and that relationship was not something that she was finding kind of any great deal of happiness in towards that particular period of time, and that she wanted out. And so she shared that information with Indrani, and Indrani then had reason to help her sister to get out of it. And so that was what the reason that I was given by Indrani, and shown in an email form.
Whose email?
Well, I can't remember. I think it was an email from Sheena to Indrani.
Saying what?
Saying, it was a number of things, but towards the end of that, look, I'm unhappy in this relationship. I really like Rahul very much, but I want to kind of move on. I think Rahul is going to be very emotionally upset if I was to simply walk away, and he won't accept me leaving him at this point, and so I'm really not sure how to go about doing this. So words to that effect in that email. When I was shown that email, or I was given to read that, it made sense that she was then, on the basis of that, meeting Sheena for dinner in Bombay, and along with Mikhail, who was coming down to Bombay from Guwahati, and the three of them together, or the two of them together, I don't know the detail on that, were going to go on to move to Guwahati, where she was going to be housed in a family home, and at that point go on from there to the US. That is my understanding of what exactly happened. Now, you can call me stupid, you can call me ignorant, you can say that, you know, you should have known better to believe one or the other, and I will probably agree with that, in that today, with hindsight, with seeing what is being reported about this matter in the press, I could probably agree with you that I was blindsided by my love for my wife, and I didn't have a reason not to believe her at that point. Maybe I should have done.
What could be the motive?
Look, I don't know. I don't know the motive. Motive for what?
Motive for the murder. motive for Sheena's murder?
Look, I don't know. I'm finding it hard to digest this information as we speak.
Well, the facts are out in the public domain.
No, the facts may be out, but the facts are, you know, they have to be proven facts. They have to be.
You don't believe there was a murder?
Look, I don't know what to believe. What I read, what I see on the television, what I read in the papers, I have to try and process that in the context.
So
of
your wife Indrani came down to Bombay and she said that she had successfully separated Sheena from Rahul, taken her to Guwahati, and then what? She just came back and resumed life.
Yeah. Yeah, and that she was going to then move on from Guwahati to
I cannot
the US.
understand, Mr. Mukherjea, why is it that a person like you or your entire family did not make any attempt to raise questions about how a person can disappear into thin air?
Well, I don't think she ever disappeared into thin air.
Did you ever speak to her? Did you ever want to speak to her?
No, I didn't speak to her because I was never in a kind of environment where I was on a regular conversation with Sheena or with Mikhail. I would meet them when they came.
You didn't find it suspicious that she would not speak to you, to Vidhi, to any other members of the family, that she was just incommunicado in today's world? Look, no idea about her whereabouts?
It may have seemed a little strange that she was not incommunicado or in communication, but you know, when a family wants to kind of break down a particular relationship that they're not happy with, they sometimes cut off communication lines between the people concerned and ask them to put their mobile away, switch off their Facebook, switch off social media, whatever it is, so as to limit contact.
Do you feel it raises questions about the family, your own role? Why nobody asked any questions?
Well,
that's the question that's going around.
You can choose to ask other members of my family. I can't speak for them.
What about you?
But from my point of view, I thought, look, the only person I would want to get this information from was my wife, who went to Bombay for that purpose, came to meet with Sheena, had arranged a pre-agreed date and time and place to meet, and that could not have been done without Sheena's consent. They couldn't have arranged to meet in a particular location without Sheena's knowledge.
Did Sheena live in your house for 3 years?
No, not at all.
Did she come and go?
She was a...
How well did you know her?
Occasional visitor. I knew her as well as... she was Indrani's sister. She was a sister-in-law who was a student at university in Mumbai, and I would see her whenever she would come home, which would be on a Saturday or a Sunday or a holiday.
Right.
So I had no real reason to be in contact with her. I had a mobile number when she was in Mumbai, when she was as a student, but after that probably...
Are you saying you had a distant kind of equation?
I wouldn't say... Look, it was distant to the extent that we were not in regular contact, and... she was far more in contact with my daughter Vidhi. She was far more in contact with my wife, and that was, the way it worked. And I had no reason to kind of feel either kind of, isolated in that relationship. That was my relationship with my wife, but that's her sister, and they were sisters, and that was what it was.
One of the things which has been spoken about as possible motive has been property or money. Anything to that extent? Were there any conflicts on money between Indrani and Sheena? Any financial transactions involving Sheena?
Look, I'll tell you, I don't think there was any financial... Personally, I don't think there was any financial issues. I never heard Sheena or Indrani squabble about money, in any real sense. Sheena's, college fees were paid, her PG fees charges and fees were paid, and I never really heard there was any financial issues. With regard to property, none whatsoever. Look, I had no contact with the family as such. I have never met Sheena's and Rani's parents. I've only met Sheena and brother Mikhail. So there was never a question of me having knowledge of what properties they owned or where those properties were, etc. So the concept of actually trying to get a sense of whether there was any squabble between the two sisters about property was simply non-existent. Right. I had never any knowledge of that.
Okay. Now, those are pictures of Peter Mukherjea. Little bit after my interview with him, those are pictures of Peter Mukherjea this evening at the Maharashtra Police Headquarters. Oh, in the course of the conversation, he says, I don't want to be photographed. Those are the pictures of Peter Mukherjea. Just a little bit after my interview with him. Called to the Maharashtra Police Headquarters. Our reporter Kajal is with us on the phone line. Kajal, what has Peter Mukherjea been called for? And how long was he spoken or questioned? Kajal, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. He was speaking to his lawyers, is what we know, and once he came home, he went to the Maharashtra police mess where he could have spoken to some officers. We do not have the details yet, but he was there at that mess for around half an hour or so, and after which he has now returned home. He is inside his home. That is what we can confirm to you right now.
Well, just go full frame with the pictures once again. Kajal, can you just tell us, was he called for questioning? Who was with him when this was happening? How many people were there who were part of this conversation there at the Maharashtra Police Headquarters? This is Peter Mukherjea, former Star TV CEO, founder of the INX network and the NewsX channel, top television executive at the Maharashtra Police Headquarters. Yes, go ahead.
This is the Maharashtra Police mess, which is a little bit closer to his house. We believe that he had left his house at sometime around the evening, where he went to speak to his lawyers. He's possibly going to be questioned sometime tomorrow by the Car Police, and he had to prepare for that, and that is why he had gone to the lawyers. But instead of returning home, he went to the Maharashtra Police mess, which is some steps away from his house. We believe he may have spoken to some police officers there, but there are no details forthcoming on what exactly the interaction was at that particular place.
Okay, so it's an informal conversation, you're saying?
Yes, this could have been an informal conversation because we are hearing from Mumbai police sources that there will be a detailed questioning most likely tomorrow.
So tomorrow is the formal conversation. Why an informal conversation at all? And who's having that informal conversation with him?
We do not have any confirmation regarding that. We could just see him speaking to some people at this Maharashtra police mess, but there is no independent corroboration from the police about what exactly is going on.
So we stay with those pictures out there. Very quickly, 10 more minutes of this conversation in this Who Done It. Let's start with the policeman. Yes, Vikram Singh. We are going to ask each one of you, what do you think happened? Tell us briefly what your theory is. Vikram Singh.
Arnab, your interrogation, I would say cross-examination has left nothing to imagination. You're dealing with highly manipulative and ambitious people who would not think twice before eliminating an adversary. Like the hero on the other side of midnight, they ensnare, entrap, and work insidiously to get rid of all adversaries. And within the next 48 hours, I would bet that all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle would be in position, and everybody whom you question otherwise would
Shazia. Shazia, what do you think? Shazia.
Yes, you know, like I said earlier, I'm baffled as to how Peter could be so blinded and blinkered. But a fact that I don't understand is the evil genius of this woman who wielded such power that she got everybody to manipulate things around her, whether it's forging of documents long time back, whether it's protecting the identity. To me, she comes across as this very evil psychopath, sociopath, and who lives in an altered state of reality. And anybody who comes in the way, be it a daughter, be it a son, she sees them as obstacles. She keeps getting rid of them. That's one. Another fact of the matter that I don't get at all is that Sheena's friends, Sheena's brother, her ex-boyfriend, at that point of time, boyfriend Rahul, how could they not know in this time and age? With social media, with Facebook, with emailing, with getting in touch, staying in touch, as to where she has disappeared for 3 years. So it's all too convoluted. But let's not second guess Indrani's motives. Please, let's not. Evil has no reason. Evil wants. He wanted to retain her identity. You know, there's almost some kind of a competition with the daughter. Her personality thrives on power, money, youth, appearing to be a certain way. And anybody comes in the way is an adversary. Her daughter, her blood, her husband,
Suhel and Anil. Suhel and Anil. Suhel and Anil, what do you think? Where do you think this is going? Suhel.
And a nasty piece of work.
One second. Suhel.
I really don't know. It's getting murkier by the minute. Indrani makes Lady Macbeth look like kindergarten. There's obviously, it's not about honor, it's about money, it's about stature, it's about social alteration. You don't want that risk at this stage in your life where your social status is altered because of some honest people making an honest confession. And what is worse is that it's all premeditated. The way you want to destroy and recalibrate your past, the way you want to structure your present, and the way you want to manipulate your future.
Rina, please. Rina Dhaka and then Nina Pillai. Rina. Rina Dhaka.
Oh, I don't know how they will justify this. I mean, how did they justify this act day to day for 3 years? I mean, she knew of it. And I also would like to think that both of them don't seem to be thinking of their children at all. I mean, I know it's being judgmental about others as parents, but even he is not prioritizing his son's wishes from the way it seems. I mean, it's like other things, his wife and her wish was more important to him.
Absolutely. Yes, Nina Pillai.
Yeah, Arnab, I think very quickly, you know, I can forgive her for having 3 husbands or 4, the children out of wedlock. I can forgive her for her ambition, perhaps. I can forgive her a lot of things, but I absolutely don't forgive the lies. I don't forgive her killing her own blood. In her mind, it may be her sibling, but it was her daughter. Yeah. And then taking her other daughter and placing that daughter in the way of, in harm's way, and adopting her, and perhaps eventually, God knows where all that would have ended. I think the tragedy in all of this is that she was not a parent in any kind of manner, and she could fool everyone around her, and it was the perfect murder till 2 weeks ago, 2-3 days ago.
In that,
and that's when the cookie crumbles, and from there their own family has been spilling their own secrets, and it's from their secrets that the media is cottoned on, and so you have the mountain that actually perhaps came from the perfect murder. And I am against this.
Well, I'd say this with conviction. No, I'd say this with conviction. The family have really been trying to trace. One of the stories put on, and one of the friends told me this, they said, we were told that there is some rehab center in Pune where she's been put. And then it was told, you know, this is what was told by Vidhi, in fact, in the course of that conversation. Vidhi says that we heard that she's gone to America, she's gone to LA, and we heard these stories about her going around or being married to someone who has a Ferrari. And, you know, all these supercilious presentations were being made to me about what they thought she was doing. At no point of time did they think, how can a person, if she's gone to US and she's married somebody who has a Ferrari, then why is there no picture of her? Why is she not there? What is her phone number? Why is she out of contact? Why is there silence? And it's a large connected family. Nobody in the family wants to say anything about it.
Yeah, so they're dysfunctional. No one communicates.
But she's not a psychopath. One thing I'm clear, she's not a psychopath.
Indrani did pull it off.
It's well thought out.
I've been Indrani
when was the last time?
A number of times.
Yeah.
Socially. Yeah. And I cannot reconcile this monster that we're seeing with the warm and charming person who I think everyone was taken in by her. Yeah. And suddenly we're seeing these revelations happening not just day after day, but during a day. And when you ask the question, where do you think this is going? And I think Suhel began by saying, I don't know. And I think that is the only honest answer one can give. Because tomorrow there'll be more revelations. Tomorrow afternoon there'll be more revelations. And you and I do not know where this case is going.
Okay, so here's where it's placed right now. And we're going to a news report on what's really happened. Before I thank you, I want to say, this is how it's placed. Indrani was being questioned by her daughter and her son, who she had denied an identity to completely. The son had problems over money. The daughter had problems over her identity and her mother's attempt to break her relationship with Rahul Mukherjea. Both these children were there. They were upset with their mother. A meeting was arranged in Mumbai, and she was coming in potentially to resolve that. Is there something that the children told her we are going to go public with? Or is there something else which happened at that point of time? What I find difficult to believe is, after that, Peter Mukherjea says, I never asked a question. It just went into thin air. I thank you all very much. On the other side, I have the full news report on what is happening in this story. This is, without doubt, after Sunanda Pushkar. After the Sunanda Pushkar murder mystery, which, by the way, is still hanging out there, and I don't know our systems. We still don't know who killed Sunanda Pushkar. After the Sunanda Pushkar case, this is the biggest murder mystery involving very influential people. Thank you for joining me so far.